I think I would always rise to the occasion if something came and knocked my ass down. I don't know that in the moment I thought, I got this. Going into it, I don't think I felt the courage of, I got it, whatever it is.
But you did it.
Yes, because what is the alternative?
But see,
what
not
I'm not going to do is lay down.
Okay. Yes. I'm glad we're starting with laughter. Thank you both
Laughter's
so
good.
much for this.
I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you.
Gracie.
Thanks for inviting me.
I'm always the behind the scenes person. And I just was like, I want to start talking to people about things that really matter
Mm-hmm.
and the things that have been inspiring to me, even though people wouldn't deem them as the things inspiring. And there's a whole section of my book about the empire of me.
Mhm.
And you both embody that for me. You're both people that I've always looked at as people who are yourselves, completely, authentically, intrinsically yourselves. And it's not like I've ever noticed either of you climbing to anything, but more feeling into what's next and with passion and with excitement and without apology. And I find that that's a harder and harder thing for people to access. And leaning into like yourself as an empire, that you are this full you are an empire. And what do I need to do here? What do I need to experience here? What is going to help me grow in this reality? And so this had to be about the two of you. And you both have been through a lot of shit. A lot of shit. And
some of it together.
Yeah,
some of it together. But also as parents, I really admire you both. I admire the way you've parented. I admire the concept of it's about my child and the community around my child. That's very advanced math. That really is, that's
Thank you.
selflessness. That's understanding you're boot camping a future adult.
Mhm.
And a lot of things that to me are things that are just intuitively who you are. It's not, I think we're all amateur adults and amateur parents, but I feel like you always come at things with all heart and all conviction for it to be left better than it was before. And I feel the same about you. And you were talking about it before we started. I came into Island Def Jam, and I'd come from Jive Records, which is corny. It's a kind of a corny place in terms of all the labels.
Absolutely.
And I arrived, and that shit was like Mean Girls. Like day one.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I already know who was in there.
Oh my God. I got an all caps email about some crazy shit day one. And I was like, where am I? And you always were just yourself, nurturing, but from such a strong ass place. So I really want to talk about that today. I want to talk about where that comes from. What is that inspiration? Do you see yourselves in that way? And how do you even take that passion, that fire on the road to where you are now, where you're both again with illustrious careers and still at the beginning? I mean, I'm watching you explode in such an authentic way where you're having conversations with people that for the concept of the world matter, but you're talking about things that matter. And that's just delicious to watch. And you who just, evolving every day into a spiritual goddess of life, but yet so rooted in the reality and relatable to people in a way that there's an availability, there's access to it that doesn't seem against their spirituality. It's not against who they are successing in the world. And that's a magical quality and character.
I accept that. Thank you.
So
first of all, that was so sweet. Thank you for that. That was like the best intro I've ever gotten on a show or a podcast. It was so was that like, did you think about that too? Or did that just come through you right now?
That just came through me now because
that's amazing.
when
you're going to be really good at this job.
Well, thank you.
No, really,
thank
I mean
you.
that. Yeah.
When I was doing the promo for the book, Mary was watching and she said, "You need your own podcast." And I was like, "I would like a Joycast." And it was easy to me to think of, okay, I want to break down this book because I've had an epic 54 years. I'm in an epic life. And I just want to be a blessing to others for the rest of my days. So it was easy to think about the two of you in that way. And it was easy to just come with that because that's how I really feel. That's how I've always felt. So,
nice.
yeah,
But we see each other and we've always had like a good rapport with each other. And but it's just interesting to hear because we don't in our regular real life, we don't share what we think of someone just because, hey, how you doing? Let's have drinks or wherever.
Right.
We don't really share that. So to hear how somebody sees you, who you've come across for so many years is actually, I don't know, it's very sweet.
And it's
thank you.
humbling.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I mean, Angie and I had a conversation the other day and she was talking to me about a project that she's working on, and I was like, "Damn, Ange, like it's amazing to watch you in your purpose."
Mm.
And there's just an illumination of aura when someone steps into that purpose.
Preach.
And it's bright and it's beautiful and it's attracting.
Yes.
You know what happened when she came in? She had a tissue and she said she's ready to cry. And I made fun. What did I do? I made fun of
You
her.
did.
Always,
And I said, Yvette,
Now you're like,
Yvette cries at like the drop of a dime.
You
And
need
so I was like, I was making fun of her. So now you're like, are you going to try to make me cry? Is that what's happening here? It's like, I feel like I'm under attack. I feel like I'm under attack.
It's that scene in Jerry Maguire.
How we're praising her and she's like, why are you doing that? What like, why are you being nice to me?
I'm under attack. I
I
feel
think we need to analyze this.
Well, I think
Shut
like attracts like. I mean, that's people always say you don't see yourself to me, and I think that's the point of when you're an empire. When you see yourself as this bigger than life character in your intention of life, not necessarily.
You don't think everybody sees themselves? Everybody's
No,
like,
no.
Isn't everybody what do they say? You're the main character of your book.
I
Isn't
wish.
everybody the main character,
The star of the
there?
story. I wish.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
you know
think
what?
everyone sees themselves that
No.
way.
Most people,
Really?
no.
At all. Mm-mm.
Think about even in the industry we're in. I started to analyze a couple years ago people that we've lost who've
Mhm.
chosen to pop themselves out. And I've noticed that there are people that they come into the industry for validation, for attention, for a community, for growth. But I see you both coming in to have the experience of whatever that experience is. And I wanted to say back to that a second ago, one other last thing about this, when I'll stop, but
Mhm.
I am in a bubble. I had to get in a bubble to write this book.
Oh.
I don't notice or know anyone who's kind of popping off in the world. But every time you have a podcast episode, I am so in it because you're getting to the heart and the
That's so
root and the
nice.
path.
Thank
I mean,
you.
I'm not being nice. I'm being honest. It's been nice to see that, and it's been nice to allow people to drop into their own truth in their own heart and
Mhm.
not be on sell mode and show mode. So it's a beautiful thing.
Thank
It's a
you.
beautiful thing.
To go
Thank
back to
you.
the point about the main character of your own life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a chapter that I'm working on in my memoir where I talk about feeling invisible.
Mm.
And most of my life, I have had to become a chameleon,
Mm.
right? And just sort of that object that blends in for various reasons. But I've carried that into my adulthood and into my life. And I'm now recognizing my invisibility and my ability to be the supporting cast member almost flawlessly, right? And and it's I still haven't gotten to the point where I resolve myself or why I feel so comfortable in that place
And supporting cast.
and supporting cast.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I feel really comfortable in that place. And I don't know if I should anymore. And I'm questioning that.
Well,
And so I'm working through that with my book.
Get out. Be the main character. Be main. Be the
That's
main.
right. Be the star of your story.
Yeah.
A good friend of mine is a black belt in karate, and she said that when she graduated, when she got her black belt, she went to her teacher like, "This is amazing, I did it," and he said, "Okay, now the work begins." And I feel like that the challenge place is really where everything begins. And I think that to me, I always say I was a behind the scenes person too, because it was easier for me to not be front and center. It's also a part of our age. I find the younger kids are more like, I'm out. Whereas I was trained like, be
Yeah.
demure and don't be all about you.
That's
But-
so weird. I'm doing the opposite, I think.
But you're doing it in a way where you're getting people to bring themselves out. So you're
Yeah.
kind of doing both.
In purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel
Yeah.
like that's part of my purpose is to do that. But yeah, I'm feeling less attracted to being in front of things. Like I feel less need for not that I was ever I never really was like I need attention.
Right.
I never was
Right.
like an attention starved person, but I didn't mind it. I just would do it my own. I managed it my own way. I try to make sure I kept blinders on and would never lose myself, but I was navigating through it, and I just thought, okay, now I feel like I don't know. I feel like and maybe it's just again the way the world is right
Yeah.
now. There's so much. Everything is weighted. Everything is so weighted
Yes.
Yeah.
that sometimes you're like, I don't want to give something that's not that weighted to me into the world to then be weighted.
Yes.
To then have
yes.
to get that energy back. It's interesting because I've been watching like media and stuff and just our world and
Yes.
wondering how that's going to land.
I
Like in
think
2 years, 3 years, how
right.
artists change, how public figures change.
Oh yeah, that's a whole conversation
Yeah,
for
because the
sure.
way the energy is of the world. Oh, uh-oh. Is that me? Closer to me? And I know better. I was just afraid of that.
Okay,
That's
well, let's
why.
get rid of that. Brittany
But I
said
felt
that
like I was hunching.
Brittany, here, take this because
You should have listened to the
There's fiber.
NAACP
You're right.
nominated
You're 100%
podcast.
right.
producer. Did I just go dark? Because that's really how I've been feeling, like about like
no,
I
you
don't
didn't go
know.
dark.
It's a little. It's not dark. It's almost like
Can we pick up with Grace just so you guys have an easy cut to pull out that moment that we just
Oh.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you naturally do that? Let's see. By the way, your intro was really like stellar.
Thank you. I mean,
It's not a
inspired by-
compliment I throw around.
inspired
It's
by
like
you
I
too.
really mean like you really. I was like,
Thank
wow,
you.
Grace, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
Look at
Thank
this
you.
one. Give
I
it
mean,
on.
what a opportunity in life. I get to talk to people that inspire me as the humans that they naturally are. It's just easy.
That's fun.
But what we were just talking about, I love that you were saying, and you were saying that you feel like we are leaning into being the star of the story, and you're leaning backwards. And what my kids have been trying to tell me recently is we're in a different world now. So even the viewpoint of star or who's in front and who's in back is different. Now, social media is when you step out on stage, and when you're not in anything virtual, you're backstage. So it's the process. And so being the person asking the questions really is the star. You almost evolved into just kind of what is the now as the star. You think about a Barbara Walters or somebody who they're the star in corralling the stars, or an Oprah.
Yeah, but even me, the next 2 or 3 projects that I'm trying to do, I'm not even in the chair. I am back there with them.
Right. But
Yeah,
that is
like
still that.
yeah, but I'm like I don't enjoy as much
Like being a singer or the artist or a rapper or actor,
or even
things you've done in
the
past.
person conducting the interview publicly and having a perspective and having, because it's not just it's not just, well, you're getting into this space now, you'll see it's not just about forming. I mean, listen, the beauty and the best part is if you can form natural conversation.
That's right.
So when you have people that you can do that with, that's a blessing.
That's
you
right.
can't always, right?
That's
So
right.
sometimes you have to lead frame a conversation, and that's it's a different skill set.
Right.
And then there's another thing where for me it's like opinion. People want your opinion on things that you don't really even necessarily in your real life at home. I'm not thinking about this topic that everybody's talking about on the thing in the stream. So when you're a public facing person, you're almost expected to have a perspective on all those things. And I'm just, as I get older, just less and less interested in that part of creating.
100%.
You know, that's called, you're doing the shadow work, Angie.
Is that what I'm doing,
You're
Yvette?
doing the shadow
Oh
work.
my God, you just got
so
broke
like
it down.
when you step out in front, right?
Yeah.
And you're that light,
Yeah.
right? That people are attracted to, people are seeing.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because you're stepping into your purpose, and so you're illuminating yourself, but at the same time, you're paying attention to the shadow work, which means it's that person that is always that version of you that's always kind of behind. It's that voice, the light voice that speaks to you in those moments where you need to be in touch with yourself. It's the version of you that's not usually seen, but it exists, and she's real. And so that's when you get into doing the shadow work and you're still able to illuminate because you're stepping into your purpose. That means that you're moving and you're active, and it's beautiful to be able to encompass all of that at once.
I also think that is really the conversation today, right? The empire of me. What is that? It doesn't mean necessarily that you're visibly in front or you're visibly behind.
Right.
It means that you are the maestro of the entire experience.
Yes.
And that you have a capacity and belief in yourself as the star of the story to be any of those roles and have the command that they come out in the way that your intention wants them to be. And I think that's even a bigger thing than I am the singer, I'm the star, I am the host. It's more like I have a vision for this life and this world and this soul that I've manifested this go round.
Yes.
And that's going to keep growing and building. And at the end of the day, you have a legacy.
Yeah.
And you have a legacy that has a certain tone and a certain sentiment, and a certain concept. And that's what I see you doing naturally.
Thank you.
And effortlessly. And
I think too, what you were saying about just how we speak to ourselves and the main character of yourself. Because the way the world is, sometimes they think the main character has to be out front.
That's right.
But why do you have to be that in your own world? Because we can't all be standing out there on the stage doing whatever we,
Yes.
I think main character is just what serves you in the moment, like being
Yes.
honest, being in touch, being in tune, and then delivering on whatever we're here to do, right?
I was having this conversation
Yes.
with my
Yeah,
Agreed.
14-year-old the other day, and she goes,
she's not your
Mom,
average 14
she's
year old.
not your
I
average
mean,
She
14.
is special.
Olympic
She is
gold.
special work. That
That
one.
one. I said, she was like, Mom, it's so weird how everyone just wants to be noticed.
Mhm.
She's like, it just doesn't feel right. And I said to her, I was like, well, babe, everybody can't be Jesus. Like, you're not going to make such an impression in the world that your name is still spoken 2,000 years later. She was like, yes, everybody can't be Jesus. And it's just like, I feel that, even Jesus in his own right didn't. I don't think he ever expected that people would be talking about him 2,000 years after he walked the earth,
Well, that's the
right?
point.
That wasn't in his intention.
That's
I mean,
right.
maybe that was a larger spirit's intention, but you have to just walk your walk,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you have to be in control of that. And that goes back to just ties back to the empire of me.
Totally.
Like, if you have control of what that is,
Yes.
then you're stepping with the good foot.
I agree. I think that's what Angie was saying before. Like, what is the future? What's happening in 2 years? And we 20 years ago or whatever that was, the math is not maybe working out. But Andy Warhol said, in the future, everybody will have their 15 minutes, and we're really there right
Oh,
now.
we are here.
We are really
so
there.
here.
But what does that mean? There's nothing.
What do you do with it?
But I think what that means is there's nothing in the world that all is going to stay above the lines and not something sink.
Mhm.
So what that means is we're going to go back to the stars rising, and I mean the internal stars, the
Yeah.
people with full intention, the people who have a bigger plan or have a bigger idea of things,
Mhm.
and everyone else is going to be, like you say, something that maybe if you were around at that time you had the experience of, but not necessarily the things we're going to bring into the future. And what's hopeful about that is it means it creates more room for people to create a new specialty, pioneer new things, come up with new ideas, kind of lean back into their own truths. And hopefully that'll make the shift from such a me focused world to a how do I create? And how do I make something that one of my biggest dreams in life is to create collectives of creative people that do things together that change the world. That in their own fun, in their own workshopping, in their own pioneering, they're enjoying their lives, but together that collective does things that impacts the future going forward. And so I think that's where we're heading now. I think that's really what is exciting about you both, because the intention to keep figuring out what's next, to create retreats, to learn how to let people let go of grief, to lean into to things that maybe not seem like a gift but really are the gift. I mean, I think that's the gift of our ages. Even I can look back to
Yeah.
things that seem like the worst thing ever, and now I'm like, thank God for those experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Pretty
wouldn't-
much everything.
Right? Almost
yeah.
everything. I
Yeah,
wouldn't
almost
enjoy it. I wouldn't be able to lean into it. I wouldn't be able to relax into some of these things had I not had some real hard shit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
the lessons and the difficulty. I got that message the other day, and I accept it so wholeheartedly.
Mhm.
And there's no life without pain.
That's right.
That doesn't exist. That utopic sense of or idea of what life should be
Mhm.
doesn't exist. And I think until we get to the point where we understand that life is just what it is.
Yes. Say that again, please, for the people in the back.
Until we get to the point that we understand that life is just what it is and we're walking our individual journeys with free will,
That's right.
right? Then there's just this feeling, and that's what we feel right now, right? Is the energy to uh, b- exist according to um, what we think
Mm.
or how we think we're supposed to exist versus existing how we are here to exist.
That's right. Leaning our own GPS, how we feel, 100%.
Right.
There's a Mary quote I love in here that's about leaning into the high peaks and low valleys of life.
Mm.
And we live, especially now, where everyone's looking for like what feels good and the dopamine hit, but really it's learning to enjoy even the moments. Too. It's like when you're pregnant. I remember with Michaela, it was like, I can't wait to have the baby. I missed the entire pregnancy, people helping me and giving me things. And with Ryden, I was like,
Oh my God, we've been talking about that all week too, like the journey. Like, do you like the journey? Do you like doing what you do? So every time, like now, it's like a new thing that I learned later in my life is like, if I decide, okay, maybe, what would be really cool if I take on a project or something, I have to think, not only will I like that to do that and that end goal.
Mhm.
Will I like the 6 months of prep and the 6 months of this and then the 3 months of, will I like the journey?
Right.
Because that's really the question we should be asking ourselves whenever we embark on anything, having a baby, to starting a new job, dating a whatever.
Yeah, moving to a new city.
Yeah, moving to a city.
Will I
like,
be in my life enjoying those moments
inside of my life
every day?
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
right.
Not just some like thing over there that a promise of what it could be.
That's right.
Because if we're only working towards the promise of what it could be, man, that could end badly.
And it usually does.
I was just going
It
to say
has
that.
to. It has to
It
because
has
only
to.
two things could happen. Either one, it ends well, but you were so busy chasing that over there, you missed the whole thing. That's
right.
best case scenario.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario is that actually is garbage over there, and you wasted all this time not enjoying the journey, and then it's garbage on top of that. So it's like, at least, even if it's garbage over there, if you enjoyed getting there, so what? The cookie at the end didn't taste so great, but everything up to the cookie was great. So it's still worth it then. You still,
That's right.
if you're in the moment
100%.
doing
And there's a
what you-
purpose for
yeah.
that cookie,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You
Even the trash cookie.
even the trash
Even the
cookie,
well,
right? Like
Especially if you're on the journey.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Especially, yes.
The lessons
Yeah.
and the
Trash cookie.
the trash cookie.
You just
even if it's the trash cookie, like it.
you just pivot. It's an opportunity to pivot.
But I think that's again, why I really want to talk to you too. You have that. You both understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you've always understood that. I know we've learned more now, but something about both of you, there's something that always felt like you got that you weren't just hot potatoing something, and if it failed, it was everything. It was more like, okay, next, okay, now, okay, open, okay, closed. And
I mean, what is?
I wish
did
it was
that
that
come from?
easy.
What was? I'm not saying
That's
it's
not what
easy.
happens in my. That's
I'm not
not
saying
what
it's-
happens in my head.
Oh, I get it.
Promise.
What happens in my head either. Like people say things to me. My daughter's always like, "Oh, I hate meeting people." They're like, "Your mother changed my life. Your mother," and I'm always like, "Really? I did? When did what?" I get it. I mean, but there was something in you both that knew you got yourself. Somewhere along the lines, you knew I got me. And where was that? Where did it come from? Like, do you
I
remember
don't know that
knocking?
I've always felt that. I think I would always rise to the occasion if something came and knocked my ass down. I don't know that in the moment I thought, I got this.
Mhm.
Or even going into whatever the knockdown was. Going into it, I don't think I felt the courage of, I got it, whatever it is.
But you did it.
Yes, because what is the alternative?
But see,
what
not
I'm not
everyone-
going to do is lay down.
Okay. Why?
You know what I'm saying?
Why
What
are you
I'm
not
not
gonna
going
lay
to do
down?
is,
Why?
because I'm hopeful that, well, here's the root of that. The root of that, I think, is knowing that my intention is good.
Mm.
Because if you're bad spirited or if you're doing something to hurt somebody, you don't have. It's not as comfortable to. If you know you mean well and you go out there and you do something, and you're like, yeah, this is gonna be great for great reasons, and you don't mean to hurt nobody, and if you know your intentions are good, that even if you fall down, you get knocked around, you believe in yourself enough to know that there's good under there. That makes you get back up. You know what I'm saying? Because
I do. I understand that.
there's if you're rooted in bad, if there's something bad there and you get knocked down, I gotta imagine it's harder to get back up.
I wish it were harder to get back.
Yeah, I mean, like
I wish that were
Oh,
true.
like attracts like, right? So like if you have bad intentions, that's what you're gonna attract a bad outcome. Like that's just how energy works.
For sure.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, for me,
Yeah.
I think that. I just feel like
So you felt you were intrinsically in the position of good.
I tried to be, yeah. I'm sure I've made mistakes and maybe not knowing may have done some things bad, just not intentionally.
Sure.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
lost in a moment
Mhm.
or behaving in a way I thought for whatever reason at whatever time, but never would approach something with knowing ill intention. You know what I mean? That was not something that listen, I could probably go through the pages of my life and be like, that was questionable. That was not nice. Yeah, I could probably find them, but the overall of my life, I think, and I get that that's rooted in family and my mom and
Mm.
how you're raised and, and then getting into a world where you're like, not everybody's the same way. So you try to protect yourself from that and you try to,
Yeah.
do good by people. And I always had faith in that. I always have faith in like, if you do the right thing, you'll be all right.
Faith is the best compass. That's
Yeah.
the first thing.
Yeah.
My root is different.
Mhm.
My root is based in first being a victim,
Mm.
transitioning to survivor, and that was at least the first 2/3 of my life, of my existence.
Mhm.
And so I did it. I always had myself because there was really no one else.
Mm.
So there was a lot of, I needed to learn how to trust that I wouldn't be disappointed. And shout out to the great Chris Atlas, who really, really taught me that lesson.
Shout out to Chris.
And
You got a good husband,
I
girl.
do. I picked, and Eva told me the other day, she said, "Oh, Mom, you did good. Thanks. I got a great dad."
He
And I was
did
like,
good too, by the way, for the record. Let me
Right,
just put
thank
that on
you.
the record.
Thank you.
And but it was really about I had to have me because no one else had me.
Mm.
But where did you get the fortitude to know that you did have you?
Well, I think faith brought me to that.
And how did you have faith?
And you had no choice.
And I just
Also no
like
choice.
there were literally no options.
But we do know people who don't think they have options.
Sure, like my sister, by the way, who felt that she never had options, felt that she was never loved, and felt that she wasn't worthy of love, not even of herself, which is why she was a heroin addict, and she died really young, and her life was absolutely tragic. Right? But that's where free will comes into play. Like, we both had very similar circumstances growing up. We were 8 years, she was 8 years older than me. And I thank God every day for her tragedy because that was my triumph.
Mm.
Right? But you have two people that had a very similar existence that came from the same stock, right? And the same, I would venture to say, the same spirit tribe.
Yes.
And we both had our lot in life. And I carried the guilt of why her and not me for many, many years. And then that turned into, thank God, not me. And I was okay with that. And on her deathbed, she was just like, bitch, you better keep going and be grateful for what you got, and there was such a lesson in that, because that was, if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't love yourself, if you don't know that you got yourself and that there's a higher spirit that's got you, then you're going to find yourself in that same place. That was what I understood was my option. And I ventured to say, not so much. Doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. It's been interesting writing this book. I had to get to it myself. How did I persevere? We've talked a lot about I was in foster care, and just all of my early days were just wild. And why do I keep coming back? Why do I believe that, I can do it over and over and try new things? And um, I think that that's really becoming a lost art. And, I hope that as we continue forward, the three of us, that we always are inspiring younger people to understand that that is the clue, right? That is the tool. Understanding that, the way you put it, that if your intentions come from a beautiful place, that's even something for people to grasp onto. If you have faith, if you understand that there's trials and errors that you witness in front of you, that's a tool to hold on to. I hope that people really start to get that, because I'm seeing quite the opposite. That people in this world right now that's so social media based, and I love social media. It's not the tool, right? What is the expression? It's not the drug, it's the user. That people really start to get and to root into that. But I know you have a heart out, so I want to.
No, baby. No. I'm okay. Okay.
You sure? Could talk a little bit longer?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Okay. This is so
what
much
time
fun.
is it? 5:52. Oh, we got time.
Okay, great.
That's why we moved it up, so I wouldn't have a heart.
Okay, great.
So
I
wouldn't
just
be
told
rushed.
Mary to give me, okay, I'm sensitive.
I didn't want to be rushed.
Okay,
That's why I asked
perfect.
if we could move it up, because I didn't want to be rushed.
Perfect.
No. We have plenty of time. I have at
Perfect.
7:30, so I
Okay,
have to be somewhere. At
perfect.
7:30. You're totally fine.
Yeah, no, it's just it's a magical thing. And early in my career, I remember artists saying to me early on, when there was big things happening, the AIDS epidemic and other things happening. Well, I don't want to be a role model, and and I don't want to be someone that people have to lean into. Or you said earlier, I don't want everyone asking me my opinion on things that I have no actual emotional, physical connection to.
Yeah.
That's a complicated thing, especially in our non-fact checking world. But being the people that you are, being the empire, being someone who leans into I can and I will and I'll try it. Um, how do you think that you embody that in a natural day to day of your life that inspires other people?
I am conscious of it.
Okay.
It's not something that just I am conscious. I check in with myself all the time, every day, all day. Like,
How? Angie, hello.
yes, hi. No, just in thought, just like, how does this feel? How did this work today? Did you like? I've been very much like, I've been working on some things that require. I've been writing a lot,
Oh, I love
which requires. So I'm in like cocoon mode a little bit. I came
beautiful.
outside because it's you guys, right? And I still have to come outside. I still have to
Right, right, right.
function, but I haven't been doing a lot of things because you know what it takes to put yourself in like a little um
Creative bubble.
creative bubble. It's very hard to come out to do anything because it pulls you out. It's very hard to then get back inside. So I've been in this little bubble. Um and I keep asking myself, do you like it in here? Do you like it in here? Like, do you like is how is this going for you? Is this okay? And I'm like, I do actually really like it. I don't like um when I feel disconnected to it and forced. So I'm just whatever. That's just one example. But like I ask myself questions all the time. How does this feel? Is there purpose in it? Are you helping anyone? Um, yeah, just that. How much time are you putting in it? Like I'm very mindful about how
It's
the things I
beautiful.
do and what I do, and mindful to a point. Like mindful, then throw it away. You know what I mean? You don't want to be
Yes.
so mindful that you're controlling everything with a stiff arm, like because you got to let the world show you the magic. You got to let it. You got to breathe, and you got to let things happen, and you got to slip and
Mm.
fall so that you could you have to leave room for that. But so I tried to walk that fine balance of checking in with myself and making sure that I'm being mindful and thoughtful, and also like letting letting God lead it, not me lead it. It's that fine line of like pushing and waiting, and so that's kind of I'm in that state all the time.
I mean, that is beautiful. Can you teach this to everybody in the world? I mean, what I'm really hearing you say is that you're walking in faith,
Yeah,
Yes.
for
that you're
sure.
living in good intentions,
For
that
sure.
you're also living in the balance of not over indexing and being like hyper aware of every movement, but also really checking with yourself. How does this feel? Number one. I
Yeah.
mean, the big part of this book title is not that I'm the joy strategist, that our own hearts are the joy strategists,
Mm.
and that we've gotten so far away from just trusting our own instincts, our own pull, and giving yourself enough space to hear yourself and commune with whoever else is in there
Is in
working
there.
with you, but also giving yourself the space to let it go so that there is the chaos of magic coming in and
Yeah,
giving you
that's the
beyond.
new development of my life as of the past, I don't know, 5, maybe it's just probably the accident 4 years. It's the new development is that I've learned to give myself space because I used to hold on with the reins so tight
I can relate.
because
Mhm.
I knew it best. I know how this needs to look. These 3 mics one of them should be like this.
Yes.
Fucking cares, number 1. Who cares? And also, you might miss something that could magically happen from all the mics being like this.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I really learned over the past few years to kind of just like let things
That's
just
right.
happen. There's really a beautiful magical thing that happens in there, which is hard for a lot of our type, not to put us in the same category.
Oh, we're in the same category.
But we
Yeah.
are in the sense that we make things happen, and
Yes,
we are
that's right.
we are looked at for leadership in some ways, and so you get into control mode, and we're smart, so a lot of times we are right,
Like
and our way
most of
is
the
the best
time.
way.
Exactly.
But also, you're really smart when you know that sometimes there's actually a better way, even, and you
Mm,
won't find it if you don't leave room for it.
that's right.
If you're holding on so tight. So that is a new development I'd say in the past 4 or 5 years that I've kind of learned to do, which I'm enjoying that new kind of evolution of myself.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
My family was what kicked my ass around that. It's like, they have felt a lot of ways around this project.
Mm.
And I then
Mhm.
felt ways around the project and their
Really?
ways. And, my mom leaned a little bit into like, talking about foster care, things are that I'm a 10th grade high school dropout, or all of a sudden these things made her feel like she was the issue. And to me, it's a love letter to her,
Yeah.
teaching me how to, navigate around that in life.
Mhm.
Um, but realizing I don't have to make them feel any way, or they don't have to be right, or I don't have to do everything for everyone. And just leaning into relaxation of being the person who's led on the journey myself. So I love what you said. And
Yeah.
I really, I'm hopeful for the world that more people start to lean into that trust of self.
Yeah.
It's a magical
And you
thing.
never know how did they land with it after it was done, and
Well,
how did your mom
with my mother, she literally stopped talking to me for it was
really?
almost 6 months,
Oh.
and I first got really angry, and then I just took it from her perspective, and I just kind of communed with her and just kind of felt how she might feel about it, and I then asked her if we could have a dinner, and I brought it back up again, and I said, I have you read it again? Have you looked at it? This is not to attack you. This is my first dream. I feel like I've supported husbands and artists and a million people, and this is the first time I'm leaning out with my passion of life, and but it's not in any way to hurt you, but at the same time I'm no longer going to be doing what I've been doing my whole life, which is just making it all about you and being the people pleaser, beyond myself. I also need to be first online of how do I want to be pleased and how do I feel. So I think coming to it, like you're saying, with the balance of it and allowing it to be um, what's best for both of our higher selves and not just what I need and the push pull or living in the victim consciousness about how she felt, really helped. And it changed my relationship with her and myself. And so that was a beautiful lesson. But it really started with that, like, well, I know what's right and I'm coming with this. And that tug of war thing was what really sat me on my ass.
Well, people will always turn your circumstances into their reality, right? Like,
Oh
and
my gosh,
make
that
it
is
about
so true.
themselves.
It's a bar.
My on June 11th, 2021, I was cracked open. Like literally cracked open. And my new self was born. My life before that day doesn't exist. That person, she's in the shadows now. And my new self was born. And so with that, I learned how to share and put myself out there because, right, the other version of me is living in the shadows now, and this version of me needed to emerge into the light. And so I say that my son's transition was my ascension. And it forced me into this place of ascension where I need to be my better self. I need to understand who she is and what her walk in life is. And it's as if June 11th was my birthday. And so sharing for me in all of my phases, in every aspect of me, every angle, has been really, it's been such a powerful position to take because it allows me to not live in ego, but at the same time, I feel like I am giving everyone the best version of me. And it doesn't come from a place of like, oh, I'm so great now, right? So it's not an ego. It's just
the pureness.
This is who I am now.
That's right.
Hello. Nice to meet you. Right?
Yes.
Like,
do you feel like that happened right away?
Yeah,
was just gonna ask.
immediately.
Because when you're telling that story, so this is my friend, right? This is so
My sister.
we're Dasan had just passed. We're literally at the service.
Please, well, okay, you're talking about the service because before you get into that, hold it.
No, please, I have to tell the story, but go ahead.
By the way, I was brought home from the hospital immediately. I went straight to my brand new house. I had 2 beds and a table with 6 chairs. That's all I had at this house. And I go upstairs to my bed and I go to sleep. I hear Chris coming into the driveway about 2:00 in the morning. I come downstairs. I have a shirt and my panties on. And who's sitting at my table? This one right here, just watching over me. And I didn't know. But go ahead, tell your story now.
Are you kidding me?
I know.
I just like people show up for you,
Yes.
and you might be sleeping and you don't even know it.
But when you say ascension, right? I mean, a rebirth as well.
Yes.
And what Angie was leaning into is like, what was that process?
Yeah.
You know, what were the steps of that? Because
But
we're
For
sitting
her,
here
I feel
looking
like
at
it
a
was right
warrior
away.
woman.
I feel like it
Yeah.
was right
It was
away. What I was
immediate.
going to tell you, there's a story, is
Go.
that we're first of all, she says she's a crier. She really is, but I'm a crier too. I can talk, I can do podcasts, I can do radio. I don't like talking about anything that is emotional in public, especially where I'm. It's one thing if I'm being interviewed. It's another thing if I have to stand somewhere and talk about any type of emotion. Like if I have to give a speech to somebody I really love, or in sadness and grief, it just makes me very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You would think I would be more comfortable at this. So she says to me, she wants me to come and speak at this service. Of course, I'm going to do anything she wants. So yes, um, and so I say to myself, I'm going to go there. I'm not going to cry because I have to be here for my friend. So I'm not going to, because she's the one and I'm going to be. So I get up there and
How'd that work out for you?
I was thinking the same thing.
I prayed on it. I was like, please, I don't want to be, because I know Yvette.
Right.
Because I know her. She needs people that she's going to want to wind up taking care of us on a day that we're supposed to be there to help. So my one job was to go up there and read the prayer and not cry and be stoic. And so I get up to the thing, and of course I'm hysterical because I could see Yvette right there. So I start crying, and Yvette was like, "It's okay, you got it." This is Yvette comforting me in this moment.
Not
I'll
surprised.
never forget that moment. I was
Not
just looking at
surprised.
her like, "What? Are you stop it?" I wanted to tell her in front of the whole, "Stop it!" I wanted to tell her to stop. She's like, "It's all right, you got this." She's telling me I got this at this son's funeral. And then I just was like, this Yvette, I had to laugh at it. And then, it's just a memory of her. It's so her. It's so like, and so I feel like that transition for her into this new version of yourself. I mean, remnants of the old version are still there. Obviously, it's just your heart and spirit, but I feel like I saw it right away, where she was like, we would go for walks after, and we would have talks about what you wanted to, how you wanted to live your life, and things that were coming to you, ideas, feelings, voices, whatever, I feel like immediately she started to make that that transition.
It happened right away.
Yeah.
It happened like right away. And I felt my son saying, "You got this," right? Like that was really his message. He was like, "This is my purpose is tied into your purpose, and your purpose is tied into my purpose." I had to go. Like I had a limited amount of time here. I had to go, but I chose you because I knew that for my life, this iteration of my life. And so I knew that you were going to be able to handle that. And this is what I heard him saying to me all the time. Like, "Yeah, Ma, it's going to hurt, but you're all right. Like, you're built for this. This is yours."
Right.
Mm.
And I had to accept that journey. And I could not have done it if my heart and my soul wasn't filled with faith. I could not do it. And I immediately tapped into the other side of grief, which is love.
Yes. Please share about that a little more.
Don't you think you've gotten the more you say that too, and Chris?
Yes.
I feel like you chose a partner that would walk through that faith with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because this is so deep.
Yeah.
That it's like not knowing in the moment when you did choose him.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
it's like life sets you up in that
Totally.
way when you're,
Totally. It's funny. I've had other friends who've had, they've lost someone close and, that relationship didn't make it. And, not being as close as Angie to you, but seeing just kind of from the outside as you were evolving around that, there was no question that you weren't going to have this hand on your back from Chris. And to hear Angie say that it looked immediate, I could just feel, just from watching you and the tiny bit of conversations we had around that time, that you were so committed to finding the connection point to the bigger, not to the bigger, like, what does this mean, but to what this meant as it moved you forward.
Yeah.
It felt like you were immediately in that.
Yeah, I was. I never asked why, and I was never angry. And I turned to Chris one day and I was just like, Chris, I haven't been angry. Maybe a month later or so.
Mhm.
And he was just like, well, and he said it so matter of factly and so quickly as a response, like he didn't even think about it. He was just like, well, that's because you're so faithful. And, just a little background, Chris's dad is a preacher. He's a pastor. So he's a pastor's kid. And Chris's entire life has been steeped in faith. His entire upbringing. He is so stoically faithful, but quiet about it as well. He's not like, he doesn't force it on anyone, but he believes, and he believes wholeheartedly. And so, yes, I think that, listen, I truly believe that we were intended for each other because that's both of our journeys. And I think that was one of the things that attracted us to each other is our level of faith. And he's, he was raised Baptist, and he's very Baptist, like all of the customs and traditions, where I am Puerto Rican and my grandmother was a santera, and I believe in all types of faiths. I'll call on Buddha as quickly as I'll call on Jesus, as quickly as I call on, right.
Allah.
Allah, I'm just
I
like,
love that
hey,
about
who's listening
Yeah.
today, right?
Team.
Yeah.
Like, holla. And so, but he respects that.
Yes.
Because at the core of it, I am a spiritual being, and I don't run away from it. I'm not scared of it. It is my friend. It is where my faith lies. It's at my core. And so, yes, it works. Chris and I, like it works.
I've been doing a lot of research recently for this next book I'm working on, which is around intimacy and where we have this big divide right now, even with our own selves. And my daughter was talking about that there's this whole group of people now that involuntarily celibate, because they don't know how to access that level of intimacy. And I think a big part of it is I'm reminded as I'm watching and listening to both of you is that what makes a successful relationship is when you're so embodied in your own love of self and your own faith of self and your own belief of self that you're not coming to the relationship to be the thing. You're coming to the relationship to have its own us, because you both have those realities. And, what a beautiful thing to, you're talking about a dynamic that's on all realms, right? With your son here, but also this partnership, and, you as well, like these partnerships where there's such a love and respect of who you are individually and your relationship with yourselves that there's no other opportunity for it to thrive. So that's a beautiful thing as well. I just had to bring that up. Not a detour, because I love what we're talking about, but that's an important thing for people to understand.
For
People ask
sure.
me, I had this girl a few weeks ago.
It's the number one mistake in relationships is thinking that the other part.
You
It's
complete
about
me.
it.
That stupid movie, like you complete
I
me.
just yes.
So what if he has to leave? You're incomplete as a human being. Like
That's what we're sold.
It's not. I mean, so listen. You miss people. You feel the void of them in your life. I understand I understand the poetic notion of that. But why wouldn't you want two whole people at the table? That's
Well,
such a better.
It starts with somebody doing the work to be whole themselves.
Yeah.
To magnify
Yeah.
and have someone come to them who's also
But not
whole.
everybody always is at the same time of their journey to be whole.
Agreed.
And you could love somebody through that if you are truly whole.
Yeah, that's right.
You could love somebody through them getting to their whole. You know what I'm saying?
If you're truly whole, to your
If you're
point.
truly-
If you're
yes.
truly doing
and
the work.
if you both get there, that's to me when the magic happens, right? When you both are accountable and you're both aware and you're both whole and you just kind of enjoy each other and go from there. To me, that's the ideal scenario for anyone.
I mean, it's the only
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah.
It's the only
Oh,
scenario.
yeah.
Let's
And
be
I
honest
mean,
about the world is not.
well, that's why I'm bringing it up,
Yeah.
because as a side note, because that is such a thing. People make the joke. It's like, wow, you must be some special thing that three people wanted to marry you. No, I actually enjoy my own self, so I'm bringing some light and luminosity to a thing, not just like soft life. So it's just beautiful
Yeah.
to hear in your own journey that's solely sovereign in your own faith and your own connection to source and your son on the other side, but also you have a partner who sees you as you, who respects your own time and process of your own journey, and has their own to bring into that equation. That's just something that needs to be
For sure.
highlighted in this conversation as well.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, that person has to be the person that you trust with your vulnerability.
Say it again.
If you can't be vulnerable with that person, then being um you're not being accountable to your true self. And that person has to be that. Like we tend to look at people for their existential qualities. And that's not where you're going to make an intimate connection with someone.
Right.
It's everything that's on the inside.
That's right.
Right?
I think people, though, think that intimacy is confrontation.
Yeah.
And so
Oh, yeah, definitely.
learning to be intimate
Definitely
with
a
yourself.
generation of that.
Yeah. Learn to be intimate enough with yourself that it's safe enough to say, you know, Yvette, you said you were going to come to my podcast and you didn't come. And are we friends? And do you still love me? And getting vulnerable enough to have those real conversations and that sweetness.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to derail what you were saying. It was beautiful.
No,
we don't
no.
need to, we can go back there.
No.
But it's such a beautiful, also confirmation to that bigger conversation in the world right now about partnership and about intimacy and partnership at all level with your children, with who you work with, who you're commuting on the subway with. You know, it's all an intimate dance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not the subway.
But it is. I mean, you think about
It's intimacy.
well,
on
you're
the
sitting
subway.
next to somebody you have a
When's the last
conversation.
time you was
what I
on the
mean?
I
subway?
hate the subway. Listen,
Yeah,
I took the
neither.
subway. There was one thing I remember being when I used to do overnights. I used to be on the train every night, 2 a.m., going home all the way to Queens. I lived in Queens at the time, and then back. And my whole life I took the train, right?
Right.
And I remember sitting on the train. I always say this. I remember sitting on the train going, one day I'm not gonna have to take the train anymore, and nobody's gonna make me feel guilty about it.
Yes.
I don't care what it costs. This is a whole conversation with myself. I don't care what it costs me. If I had to take taxis, because it was taxis back then. We didn't have Ubers. It was take taxis. If I had to, I'm just not gonna. Nobody's gonna, because I did it. I'm in it. This is
That's
me.
right.
This is me at 3 a.m. on
Get
the
the power
subway
of
every night.
manifestation, right? Look
But
at that.
the thing, I was like, I hate it. So I have no guilt. So I've done, every now and then, if the traffic is nuts and I have to go somewhere, but I don't enjoy. I don't enjoy a subway ride.
I'll sit my ass in traffic.
By the
I'm
way,
not getting on the train.
I used to love, though, in the music industry that you'd always have that one moment in the meeting
Mhm.
where some executive who lives now in Scarsdale never rides this train. It's like, well, in the street. And I used to be like, which street?
Like,
What street are we talking about?
is it Elm Lane?
Right, exactly. What street?
Some people love the subway. Some people,
Yeah, totally.
totally love it.
Yeah.
I know people that love it. Like, yeah, no, I'd rather get on the train than it'll be
Yeah,
faster.
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
I'll
no,
s-
no
peace, I'll
mas.
see you
I
later.
did that. No, I did it.
too.
I did it. I'm
I
cool.
did
I'm
it.
cool on it.
I
It's
was
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
too.
Yeah. And
No
you lived out,
disrespect.
and you lived out in Coney Island. That's a long ride to
Yes.
the city.
That was by the way, I lived in Coney Island. My grandmother lived in Washington Heights. So that's a
Oh.
2
2
hour.
hours. That's 2 hours.
2 hours each way. 2
Yeah.
hours. It
Yeah.
was nuts. And I had to stop at J Street Borough Hall. It was
Yeah,
already
yeah.
an hour there.
Right.
Yeah. I made the cross borough, the amateur
How
mistake.
did we get into the trains? Oh, the intimacy.
my first boyfriend lived in St. Albans, and I lived way out in Brooklyn. So you have to take a train to a bus to a bus. That's love.
Yeah.
That is. That's using love.
That
love.
was love.
Was
I
it though?
Or
Was it though? Or was it
infatuation, or-
just
yeah.
like?
Oh, no, I was obsessed.
Oh yeah.
Jonathan William Everett Davis III. But when we met, it was like,
Oh.
Got the
yeah.
whole name.
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you
Yeah.
but anyway, yes. But back to the rebirth, because I think that's really a big part of this idea of the me empire. It's right. It's like looking at the whole conversation. There's things that come up. We have the naughty word, the expectations, the E word, and living in that concept and not enjoying all the moments, not feeling that even heartbreak on the highest level is somehow about your evolution forward. I mean, that's very advanced math.
Mhm.
That's really
I love that term, by the way. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, it's so
Please
good.
do.
I'm telling.
I mean-
I'm stealing it too.
Please
It's
do.
advanced math.
It is. Think about that. Like
Advanced
what?
algebra.
A lot of people are not
Yeah.
off the floor yet. So
Yeah.
that's really what we're talking about here today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like taking all the things, all the pieces of the puzzle, all the pieces of the ingredients, that recipe, and making whatever that soup is.
Mm.
And loving that and enjoying that. So before we end, I want to just hear, right? I to think about this, and I was saying earlier before you came, Angie, that when I was 11, 1981, there was this thing in my school that if a new person came in, you knew they were your friend if you said to them, "Do you like rock or disco?" And whatever they said is how you knew a friendship was going to form or not,
What school did you go to, by the way?
right? PSA.
You were a disco,
in
you were a
Brooklyn.
disco girl, or were you both?
Well, I think to me at that time, I felt like just like a weird freak of nature, mixed before it was trendy, had a single mom before it was trendy, like all these
Right.
things. And there was this one moment where I just thought, rock and disco. like I could be both these things. And
Mhm.
it was an interesting shift in me that started this concept of who I could evolve to be. So when you look back at your life, like what is like the pie, if you're a pizza, of the cultural references that really make you Angie today and you Yvette today?
Oh man.
What are some of those
I'm ready.
things?
Can I go first?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So Walton Mercado.
Oh,
What?
okay. Please, a little behind this.
It makes sense. It makes total sense.
Please share with me.
Oh my
Enlighten
God.
me.
So
Are you kidding me? Of course. You don't even have to ask. It's there. It's all there. Go ahead. Spill it.
So Walter Mercado, for
Okay.
those that don't know.
Do you know who he is?
No.
Oh, that's
Oh my
why.
God, he's amazing. Oh, he was amazing. Because he's up there with like all the great spirits.
Okay.
And so Puerto Rican,
Yeah.
think a Puerto Rican Liberace.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
On television.
Blonde on television.
I do know.
But
I
he
do
was
know.
an astrologer.
I do know.
And a spiritualist. And
Yes.
So
so
there's
There was a
pretty girls.
documentary of him. I saw it a
No.
couple years
Yes.
ago. Yes.
Was
Yes.
there?
Yes.
There
I
was.
just
There
saw
was.
it. Yes.
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 Right.
so Walter Mercado, every night, 10 o'clock, he would come on
With a robe.
with the robe,
And jewelry.
with the stars and the moons, and he would roll his R's like that, like it was amazing. And I would sit there with my grandmother,
Oh my God.
and we would listen to our horoscopes.
Mm.
So Walter Mercado definitely
I totally can see that.
is
Yeah.
like
I-
this is my guy.
He might be a big slice.
He's a big slice. Like he's half the pizza. I would say Rapper's Delight,
Oh.
Sugar Hill Gang.
Mm.
Why?
Because was my entry into hip hop. And I have had the extreme honor of being a culture creator and an ambassador of hip hop in my career.
Yeah.
And I've been in this for about more than 25 years. And it's such an honor, and it hurts me deeply the hands that hip hop is in right now and the state that it's in, but it's okay because I did what I was supposed to do. So I would say Rapper's Delight in Sugar Hill Gang and my entryway into hip hop, El Gran Combo and Hector Lavoe, because that was like the epitome of New Yoricanism in the 70s.
Fanya's in my pie too.
And Fania, yes. And
Sorry, we're on your pie. Continue on with your pie. Your pie has some overlapping to my pie though.
I mean, because we have very similar experiences, though.
Yeah, because even your Walter's not in my pie. But when you said Walter, it made me think of remember the little dog that used to come on Telemundo? It was the Buenas noches.
Oh, yeah. I do that. I remember.
Who is that dog?
I don't know.
Where's the dog?
Where's the
Telemundo
dog?
I don't
Where's
know,
the
but he was
I know
amazing.
that
I think he's in my
dog.
pie, and I didn't know it until you started talking about Walter Mercado. Now I feel like the Telemundo dog is in my pie. And I don't know. It's so crazy. It just came up for me. But go ahead.
And then I think the last slice of my pie that truly lives in my DNA is East New York, Brooklyn. I am so Brooklyn. I'm so East New York.
You are so Brooklyn.
It's my rough edges. You know what I'm saying? This
This is a good game. This is a good game.
Thank
I
you.
that's my pie.
I love it. And by the way, that's such a good pie because I can see it all.
It's
I can
all you
feel
can
it all.
see it.
Right.
I wish my pie was that easy. I feel like my pie. You know, when you get a pie and you don't got a lot of money, so you do the double cut. You try to get mad.
You want 16 slices
My pie's like
instead of
that.
8.
Let me get 32 slices. You go cut it into 32 for me. For the class.
I've been there.
You know the little tiny
yes,
little. Let me
I
get a
really
sliver
did.
of the slice.
The one you just
Cut it
pick
in
up
three
like,
Yes.
like that. with one
Yeah, the
finger.
one they do eat it like that.
Exactly.
That's how my pie is. Honestly, my pie looks like that. I'm not going to bore us with all the little pieces
Oh,
of
we're
the
not
pie.
bored.
But there's
Yeah.
so many pieces. But the Telemundo dog has got to be in the pie.
I love this.
Is he a big piece of the pie? Is he a little? He's a 32 slice.
I just remember it. It's my childhood,
Right.
being a little kid, and my grandmother who passed when I was like 10. So this is like early Angie. Like I remember just sitting. We would just sit in front of the TV. It was like our thing, and she would drink Schaefer beer.
Schaefer beer.
beer.
That's
She would drink her
amazing.
Schaefer.
Chafer.
Let me get my Schaefer.
And
And
Chafer.
her nails were mad long and like anyway, so she would be with her beer, her nails. The Telemundo, and it would be time for me to go to bed, but I would be so happy that I could be up still late. And the dog was the representation that it was nighttime. It was
Amazing.
right because it was go to
Yes,
bed.
that's
Buenas
right.
noches, hasta mañana. Dog was saying
Yeah,
goodnight,
yeah.
but then I
think
was
come
still
on like
there.
9 o'clock or something like that before hotel.
Okay.
And then I would be there for hours with her watching TV. So I don't know, it's just a childhood piece of me. I don't know really what it represents except just that and being in Washington Heights with my grandmother at that time. And also watching Spanish television, which
The novelas.
if you know me now, my Spanish is terrible. It's embarrassing.
She sounds like an old man when she talks. It's
Shut up. It's
amazing.
really
true.
No,
no, because her voice goes down.
No, when I try to
Who
speak
are you? Who are
Spanish,
you emulating?
my grandfather.
Oh, okay. Can we get a
Like,
word?
really
We can't
immediately
get a
it goes,
sentence.
"Where are you?" Like it goes to this weird deep place. It's terrible. So I don't do it in public.
Amazing.
She's heard me try to speak Spanish, and it always goes to the old man voice. It's so stupid. So it goes to that. But I think for me, my hip hop moment is Beach Street because not that I think that is the end all be all of movies or even that it got everything right, but just as a kid at that age in my life, I watched that movie almost every day when I came home from school. Know the movie by heart. It really represents when I was falling in love with the culture, when I was falling in love with it, because it represented everything too. There was people breakdancing in the movie from the Bronx, and some of them were Puerto Rican. They
That's
looked
right.
like the kid who lives next door to me, and there were, I don't know, just there was rap and there was graffiti and it was just all of that. And so me coming of age at that time and connecting to that movie and watching it watch is definitely a piece of the pie. Crazy Legs is in the movie. Like, you know what I mean? It just was a thing. So Beach Street's in the movie in my pie. A little piece of my pie. What else is there? I had so many and now I have only two. I think movies too. Like, I don't know. And New York. I mean, obviously New York. I have all these memories of the New York City Marathon when my mother was trying to find her way as a young woman, watching with her she'd have on what's that band, Olivia Newton-John
Like a
headband, and she'd be in the living room, and I'd be on the couch But what I was learning was that my mother had ambition. You know what I mean? I was watching her watch the marathon, and she was jogging. You know, jogging was a thing. Everybody was jogging in their outfits with their sweatbands. And
I love that you got ambition from that.
Me too.
Yeah.
Love that.
Because you're aspiring to be a better version of yourself. So even though I would be there and rolling my eyes and I'd be over it, I think we would watch the marathon. That's why so many years later for me to run the marathon was a very big deal for me, even though I almost killed myself. Because it's so New York.
Yes.
It's so, the New York City Marathon, not just any marathon. I don't know that I would have gone across the world to run a marathon. It was the New York City Marathon and what that represented, and also it represented to me. I hate running, by the way. Did I mention that? I hate running.
I'm with you.
No, it's the worst thing I have to do type of exercise is to run. So if I could run the marathon, to me, what that represented was I could pretty much whatever.
Right. Do anything.
If I could do that, I could do anything. It's really the mentality. So me being able to do that and in so much pain at that point, because I had hurt myself a week before that, she knows that. It just really represents what your brain can get you through and how much ambition how far that can take you. So that's in there. That's that a cultural moment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a
Absolutely.
cultural moment also. I don't know. That's the only piece of my pie. I feel like that's a quarter of my pie.
All right, we can continue this.
I have another slice of my pie.
Okay.
Oh God, this could go on forever because I still only have a quarter of my pie. But my kids and my family, by the way, are the biggest chunk of my pie because they inspire me every single day. It's forced me to change, forced me to learn, forced me to self-correct.
Yes.
Forced me to not always be the main character of my own movie. And be okay still. Right. Being a mother and a caretaker and forces you to fall back in your star of your own movie, but in the best possible way. So that's a huge piece of my pie.
I want to say Angie Martinez is a slice of.
Oh my God!
I love it.
Shut up!
I love it.
I am going to say that.
Okay.
Because I don't know if the world knows this, but I was Angie Martinez's road manager when she was a rapper.
Oh gosh.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yes. But check this. There's two
This
Puerto Rican chicks.
When it's the tiniest part of my life. That was a 2-year run.
It doesn't matter. But you know what? We traveled the world together.
We did.
And oftentimes it was like me and her,
Mhm.
you know. And I remember one distinct experience. We were in Germany.
Oh God, I'm scared.
And no, Angie was pregnant and nobody knew.
Oh, that's right.
And we were in this like really tight club. And she had just kind of performed and she had horrible like morning sickness and she wasn't her best, but it was a commitment and you see how ambitious she is and we had to get it done. And I remember trying to get her out of there. And I just brought her really close to me. I was just like, just hold me. And I was in front and you pressed her belly up against my back and that's how I protected her belly. And we got up out of there. And it's just really, it's such an emotional, intimate like experience that it's really, it stayed with me all these years, how close two people can be, right? And admire each other for exactly who they are and have this long-lasting relationship that's just really based on two people that dig each other.
Oh, Evie.
That's beautiful.
So sweet.
I love you too.
She's so sweet.
I don't know.
She's very protective. She was a great road manager.
I could
Same
see
reason
that.
why she's been successful in her career because like she said, she's a caretaker.
Yes, I could see it.
Even in her hard, toughest day of her life, she's telling me I'm going to be okay. I'm like, what is wrong with you? She's a caretaker. So imagine me being pregnant in another country. Nobody knows all the emotions of that. And she's like, I got you. I'm like, thank you.
I love that.
Thank
And
you, honey.
I love it too to watch you emerge into your star of the story.
Ooh.
It's a beautiful thing to hear all that magic.
We're gonna be a guest on. We'll be her first guest on her podcast.
I'm yes. You know I'm a yes.
Do it.
Yes, the podcast, the retreat, the book, the whatever.
Yes.
Whatever it is, we're here.
Then-
We're
and-
attending.
I'm holding y'all
yes.
to that.
Yeah, and to also to give every single piece of that I got you to you. You know?
You know, it's funny. I one of the psychics that I work with, she called me out of nowhere. I have a message for you, and you know, we went through everything, and then in the end, I was like, "What's the tribute that I need to send you for this?" And she was like, "No, nothing." And she was just, and I thanked her profusely. And she said to me, "You got to understand that the love that what you're getting from me is just a reflection of the love that you have given to everyone."
Yes.
You deserve
Yes.
that.
And that's really difficult for me to come to terms with because I don't do it to get anything in return. I do it because this is who I am. But it's really nice to hear it.
And it's also a characteristic of your Thrive season.
That's right.
You went from survival, victim, survival, and this is thrival season.
That's
for
right.
you.
This is thrival.
And that's
Love that for
that's
you.
the
I accept
attributes
it.
around that.
I accept it.
Your advisory board. I want to be on that board.
Thank you.
Put me on the board too. I'm in.
Yeah,
Oh, yay.
we're in.
We RSVP'd yes to whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
We're already in.
to all of it. So, yeah.
All of it.
I love this love fest, by the way.
I want to do another pie. I gotta work on my pie.
Go ahead.
Next
Work on
time
the
I see you,
pie.
I'm gonna have the other half. I feel
Okay,
like I
please
gave you
do.
half of my pie today.
Okay, I'll send you my pie because my pie also is like 45,000 slices.
Okay,
and you
so
could
I'm
be
not a
like,
crazy
Not
person.
at all. It took me weeks when I first thought I was like, what is my pie?
Can I
I
tell
have
you one
weird-ass
more little?
ones,
I have a
please.
weird ass little one too.
Please.
It's the
Do it.
tiniest, bizarrest
Okay.
one,
Okay.
and it's such a random thought, and just she made me think of it. The movie Steel Magnolias.
Oh.
There is a scene where she's burying her daughter.
I know the scene.
Her hair looks like a helmet, so she's a mess. And then Wheezy comes over and says something crazy to her. And they all start laughing. She made a joke and they start laughing. And she says the line and she says, "Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion."
Yeah.
So good.
That's so good.
Isn't it so good?
So
So good.
Look, I
So
couldn't even
good.
get a joke to say it because when I think about Yvette and her story,
Right.
I think I too try to maneuver life through that because we're all going to have tears.
That's right.
I could cry for 10 things going on for either myself or a friend or something I've witnessed or what we're all witnessing in the world right now could
Wow.
put us at the table to cry all day
100%.
about that.
That's right.
But it's like the laughter through tears is the best emotion ever.
That's right.
fantastic.
Not laughing is no laughing matter.
Yeah, that's a piece of my
100%.
it's a piece of my pie because I think I operate that way.
I love that.
That hope.
I love
I love that.
Yeah.
I love this. I love you. We have to do 5,000 more of
I
these.
like this new emotional
I'm
Angie.
so
I
emotional.
know.
What's going on?
I was crying recently in front of someone who worked for me years ago, and she said, "You used to tell us in the meetings at Def Jam, there's no crying in baseball.
Oh, I said
You
the same
can't cry
thing.
in
Oh, so
here."
there's no
And now I'm
crying
like,
in hip hop.
right now I'm like, the
I ain't
trees
listen
are
to none of
beautiful.
that.
I'm crying. The sun is on my face. I'm like a mess all of a
Oh,
sudden,
you're happy crying all the time.
all the fucking time.
Yeah.
I'm just
You
so
sad cry?
grateful. Yeah, I mean,
I
I had a lot. You know, I really had to mourn my relationships and
Mm,
how much I didn't value myself.
mm.
You know, that was a lot to look at. And when I got to the side of that, I just was so grateful that I'm alive, the things I've been through, that, you know, the family I have, the friends I have. My circle is now a dot, but powerful, amazing people in my life. And I'm so grateful for that. So I'm crying every freaking day. I'm crying that my knees still work. I can still do yoga. Like everything makes me feel so happy. And so, yeah, all of it. I'm really proud
That's
of it.
beautiful.
I
Let me
have a
talk.
Good work,
mantra
mama.
that I wrote myself because I don't think that anyone has ever said this. But it came right on the heels of Dasan's transition, and I say this all the time: gratitude is the direct path to joy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Say
for
it
sure.
again.
Gratitude is the direct path to joy.
I love that.
And every day I wake up and I'm thankful for something.
Mm.
It's gonna sound so corny, and y'all ain't gonna believe that I actually do this, but even in the worst of times, I look at it, I try to make it a bigger picture, and I say, okay, well, I'm grateful for something in that,
That's not corny at all.
in the worst of it, right? So like my son dying is the worst thing that has ever happened to me. But I'm so grateful that I had him for 26 years.
Yeah.
And I got to be his mother for 26 years. So like that's just one example, but every day I live my life in gratitude.
That's carried you.
because
We could tell that you've carried.
Yes.
That's definitely carried you.
Definitely.
Mhm.
There's no other way.
Then I'm saying that to the joy strategist, so you can
Yeah.
have that too. You can borrow it.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think
For
she already
full
told us
credit.
that,
For full
yeah.
credit.
Yeah.
No, I think that's really what it is. It's like there's nothing in life and no nature and anywhere that goes up and doesn't go down.
Mm.
And if we're always just looking for those giant mountains, we're never, like we said before, living. So for me too, it's like so much pain. I've been through so much pain in my life, but yet it makes me cry at a tree. So
That's next level crying.
it really, really, I've really been turned. I saw a thing today. It was like, there's actually a word for it, a demnophile or something, like someone whose heart lights up in nature. And every day I take a long walk. I feel really connected to everything there is. And it's just a beautiful thing. I'm one of these old people now looks at birds.
Oh no, me
I'm
too,
like,
all the time.
I'm not there.
all the
I'm not
time.
there with the
All the
birds
time.
yet.
We're going to drag you out on one of
By
our
the way,
retreats with the birds.
I've been seeing packs of geese
Oh,
everywhere.
God. Oh God.
Everywhere, like all the time. And I'm like, what's the spiritual significance?
I'm gonna send
Who's
you-
sending me a message?
Oh,
I have a gift
God.
for you. It's animal totem magic. And
Oh
it
my
breaks down each animal and what symbolically they
I
mean.
need it.
Oh,
Send
I
it to me.
need
too.
Okay, well,
that.
I get
it's
weird
a beautiful
animals
book
all the
too.
time.
Yeah, I wasn't driving last week in Florida. I'm at the stoplight. This giant egret just sits at the top of
Oh.
the sunroof.
A what? A who?
An egret.
What
They
is
have
that?
like these like long beaks.
They look
and,
Oh.
like cranes,
Yeah.
kind of, but they're and just stares down at me. And then flew.
Did
and
you
I was-
cry? Did you cry?
I didn't cry. It's more like, am I gonna have to fight this bird? The thing is open, and then I looked it up later, and it said it's about trusting new beginnings.
Oh.
Like this bird is about trusting new
Ooh.
beginnings. I was like, okay, I'll take it. But I'll send you both this book.
As
It's a
we're
beautiful
on the
book.
Joycast.
Wait, what is it called?
Oh.
It's called Animal Magic Totem.
I want it.
I'll send it to
Something
you.
said it.
I'll
Okay.
send you I'll send it to you. It's really good.
Okay.
Beautifully
need that.
illustrated and everything too.
I need
Thank
Thank
you
you.
both so much.
Thank you for having
Aw,
us.
thank
We
you.
love you.
Love
This is
you.
amazing.
Mhm.
You're onto something wonderful.
Thank you. I mean, from you
agree.
two, that's big praise. Thank you.
You know that. You know.
I'm just
that.
having
you
fun.
You don't need us to validate it. You know it.
I actually do. It's funny. Yvette and I are similar in that way. I
Mhm.
don't never make things about me. So like even this book, I wrote it and my friends started reading it. They're like, this is really good. And I'm like, is it? Is it really good? Like, I don't know. Is it really good? I can't tell. So yes, it is.
love
It
I
does
love
mean
the
a lot.
illustrations in the book too.
Thank
Like
you.
the little pencils and everything is like so happy.
I
and-
want people to not take it so seriously.
like a happy
People
town.
know that they should work out and they're going to be in pain and there's work. But as soon as you touch the heart, everyone's like, oh, no. Oh. But then we all want relationships and abundance and want to manifest things. But we're just manifucking ourselves because we're running this other program underneath that we don't believe and we're not entitled.
Mhm.
And so I wanted it to be light and funny and silly so that you can laugh at yourself and then figure it out.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not here as anybody's expert at all, but I'm telling you, I've done some work and you can do some work too. And if your life doesn't feel amazing, well, get on with it.
Word.
Fucking get on with it. So, yeah. So good.